So today we're going to go through Waveform 12, or the free version of Waveform here, which can be used to make songs directly from your MIDI keyboard. So all I've done is I've pressed the Windows key logo on my computer keyboard, and I typed Waveform 12, and you can see it's popping up here. So if you just click that, it'll open the app. And then this is what it should come to when you first load it up, assuming you've already installed everything. So if you've worked on something recently, then your recent edits will pop up here on the left. Project templates are here, and things like your settings. We can see that my microphone is working because this little, the green thing is going up and down. And so you can set this, if you're using headphones or something like that, or you can put it onto a light scheme or a dark theme. And then over here is maybe, you might be interested in some training videos or something like that. So that can also be helpful. But I just wanted to make a video kind of going over how to make a new project and how to do some kind of basic stuff to get you started. So these are my old projects that I've worked on before, but we're going to start with a new project today. And just before we get going, I'll just show you. So this is the welcome screen up here, so we can see it in the top left. And then you can also go to your full settings if you click on this button here. So if you're ever having trouble where there's some sort of setting that you want to change, this is probably your best bet. So for example, we can go through to our MIDI devices. So this is where the piano is going to pop up once we plug it in, and we should see that it's enabled. So if your computer isn't detecting your keyboard, you can go there and see if it's maybe disabled or something, just as an example. And then there's, things like general, lots of options for things like, how to save things. Let's see. Audio devices is an important one. So for me, my output is on speakers, so it's just going to play over my computer. The input is my regular microphone. But if you put other stuff into this, you can have it go into your headphones instead, or you can maybe use a microphone or things like that. Okay, so I'm just going to do new project here. And so then we can type in our name. Let's do test project. And I have it just set to this location here. So this is remembering from last time, it's set to music and then piano music for me. And you can change that by clicking this little button here and then navigating through your own file system. And we're just going to use our default template. I haven't delved too much into the templates myself. And then we can just hit create project, and then it automatically gives you this whole set of tracks already that you can start to populate. It has some of your more basic stuff. So like the tempo is going to be here, so we can see it's in 4/4 time right now. And then we can just start adding to each of these tracks individually. One thing that you might have installed are plugins to play different instruments. So the one that your computer comes with typically for Windows, the piano isn't that great on it. And you definitely need some sort of instrument output when you plug in your own physical piano to your computer, because the computer is just, recording the electronic input from your piano, but the output needs to be some sort of virtual instrument. So to add different plugins, it's super easy. You just need to press this plus button here. So we'll go ahead and then we can see what I've already installed. So I think it already comes with a couple here, but nothing too extensive. So what I've installed previously, there's this Stephen Slate, I believe this is drums. Then there's the BBC Symphony Orchestra, which is a fantastic one with a lot of different instruments involved. So let me just add this one here. Oh, and then, yeah. So you might get this little error thing here, the little exclamation point in the triangle. So if that happens, there's kind of two versions of this plugin. So what I usually do is I'll just press the delete button on my keyboard, and you can see it's gone now. And then just navigate back to the Spitfire Audio, and then just click the other one, because there's two versions. One of them works on my computer at least. And we'll see if when I click that one, suddenly it looks like it should. So there wasn't any error message here. So this create multi-out wrapper. And what this basically means is that when you click the BBC Symphony Orchestra plugin, what it wants to do is create a bunch of different tracks, basically one for each instrument that it thinks, somebody writing music for an orchestra would want to add. So it'll do that automatically if you do create multi-out wrapper in submix. So that's that option, or the create multi-out wrapper. But what you would probably want to typically do if you're just creating a song that, maybe has some violin in it or something, you'll just want to add a single plugin. So then that makes it so that it's just adding the BBC Symphony Orchestra just to this one line here. And then this also pops up, as you can see. Just to show you, I'll just exit this for now. So it should pop up automatically when you first select the BBC Symphony Orchestra, but you can always get back to it just by double clicking on the widget itself, and then it'll pop back up. And what this lets you do is choose the different instruments. So you've got basically your whole orchestra here, which is great. It's got a really nice piano, much better than the automatic one that comes with Windows. And you've got all sorts of things like, the cellos. What's cool too is that it has different options if you want to play long notes or if you want to play shorter notes. So this is nice because, naturally when the person is playing the instrument, they're going to play the notes a little bit differently. So if you want to get really advanced with it, you can have different tracks set for just your long notes versus your short notes. So there's tons of different options you can do. So you can, select your instrument up here if you want, or you can just kind of look through these and see what's there. And always different options. So let's just choose piano. So that one will kind of be our default output if we're going to make a song on the piano. Okay, so I'm now sitting at my piano, and I have plugged in my MIDI keyboard, and I just want to show you then how to set it so that your MIDI keyboard actually comes out and is recorded by this program. So first off too, I have now connected, because I don't want the piano to play over my audio. I'll just show you in the settings how to adjust your audio devices, because I'm now trying to use headphones instead. So the output right now is just through my computer, so the speaker's Realtek audio, and I can just click that and switch over to my headset instead, and I'll just test that really quick. And I do hear it, so it looks like it's working, and we can see that my microphone is also still working. So then going back, we should actually be able to see that there's a MIDI device here. So I just went down and clicked on MIDI devices down from the settings as well. So we were just on audio devices, and I've gone down to MIDI devices here. And let's just hit refresh real quick. Helps if you turn on the piano. And then let's refresh, and then we can see that it pops up right here. So the Casio USB MIDI, that is my piano. We can see it's an input, which makes sense, and it's enabled. So it's ready to go now. So all I did, I just plugged it in via USB to my computer, and then I turned on the piano. And then as soon as I turned on the piano, that's when you could see it pop up here. Okay, so then let's go back to our test project edit 1. So that's the project that we just made by when we were in welcome and we did new project over here. And now we can see in our recent edits, it already pops up. Okay. So we're going to work with just track 1 to begin with, and just as a reminder, we have it set to the BBC Symphony Orchestra's piano. So the first thing that we'll do, we'll just prime this to record. So we're just going to press this red button here. So basically when it's just like white with a red dot, that means that it's not ready to record. When it goes red with a white dot, that means that if you hit the actual big record button down here, then it's going to be this track that's being written over. Okay, and then we also need to tell it what we actually need it to do as input, as in we want our piano to be going into track 1. Because right now it's just saying sustain, which is probably just the sustain pedal. It's kind of like the default. So we're just going to do the Casio USB MIDI. So all I did was click on the sustain part right here, and then all of our options for audio come up. So we're going to go down to MIDI. So we want our MIDI keyboard and go to Casio and just click that. So we can see it pops up now. We can prime it. And then this track is ready to go. Okay, so then the next thing to talk about is down here at the bottom. So these are kind of our recording and our playback controls. So the first one here, that is the big red button, obviously for record. Once we want to play stuff back, we can use these and kind of, go around. Like I mentioned before, the tempo up here does tell you it's in 4/4 time and that it's in C major. And this information is also here in more detail. So we can see it's going to be spacing these bars at a BPM of 120, C major, 4/4. And what's nice too is that this here is the time. So right now it's at like the first second, or the first minute, first second, and like 0 milliseconds, because we're right at the beginning of the bars. But as we kind of click around, we'll see that this number changes. So we're at the ninth bar, third note, and then 0 millifractions of a single note. So that's a really handy way where if you just want to adjust some notes or make sure that you're playing notes at the correct time, you can use this to kind of check where you are and make sure that everything lines up the way you want it to. So I'm just clicking up here in the bars, and you can kind of click around and start at different points here. So I'm just going to try to click, all the way over to the left here, just to start at the beginning. Okay, so I'm not doing anything fancy, so. Okay, so then you do have to click start and stop, of course. But now we can see that it's recorded something. If I want, I can click and drag this around and move it anywhere I want. Now, we can't really see much information about this. It's just kind of a line straight across because this is too, it's not tall enough here. So what we can do is if we just adjust our mouse, so that we can select this bottom bar, we can just pull it all the way down. And you'll see there's this transition here where suddenly there's enough space to show us the individual notes. And then a bunch of other options pop up as well. So what I love about this program is that it records each note individually, so it's not just a waveform. So that means that you can actually adjust each note individually as well. Now this is still, it's kind of narrow here, and I want to actually be able to like drag this out. So you can't do the same thing as we did here where we just kind of like adjusted our mouse till we were at the line and then move it up and down. So you can't do the same thing with it here. Like you can adjust it longer like this, but it's not actually adjusting the notes at all. So what you can do instead, if you again kind of hover up here, so like up the bars at the top. So this is where you can also kind of click around to different times. But if we just use 2 fingers on the mouse pad, so just put 2 fingers on and then kind of drag your fingers apart from each other, we can zoom in on this part here. Okay, and then now this is a lot easier to see. You can see I'm leaving my mouse on this area here with the piano here, and I'm just moving 2 fingers up and down to scroll, and that's where we can kind of see like the whole piano, and we can see my note progression here. So this is great. Let's say I accidentally played this as a B instead, or maybe I just wanted to put it out of tune and I wanted to put it down to a B. So we can actually grab each individual note and pull it around however we like. And you can even change the note itself, so we can make it a much longer note. We can make it a lot shorter. We can even delete it if we want. And we can even draw our own notes if we like. So you technically don't even need your MIDI piano. Obviously, it makes it a lot easier. But that is an option as well. It's nice if you just mess up a note and you want to change things a little bit. I'm just hitting Control Z to remove that, so put it back to the way it was in the original. Great. Okay. So yeah, there's a lot of things you can do just by kind of pointing and clicking with your mouse. So if you haven't hooked up your sustain pedal to Waveform, then it's not going to be able to necessarily automatically detect it when you press the pedal, which means that all of your notes are obviously going to be quite choppy from each other. Okay, so if you have this and you want to add your hold pedal to this, so we can see I already have it on, but I'll just remove that just to make it clear. So this isn't considered to be a different instrument. It's considered to kind of add to an instrument. So we would actually call this a controller instead of an instrument itself. And to add controllers to this, what we need is that menu that you might have seen pop up here before. Right-clicking once pulls up this menu. So just kind of a quick, all the basics menu. But then if you right-click again, it's already here, so it's not popping up again. But this will come up if you right-click twice. So to add on the pedal to my piano here, all I need to do is go to controllers, and then I'll hit the plus button because I want another controller. And then you'll probably get this this very overwhelming list of just random stuff. And what we want is, it's generally 64 on people's, and it'll probably say hold pedal. It might not, but 64 is typically the one that you'll want for your hold pedal. So we can just click that, and we can see, like I had it on before, it just pops back up. And that means that when this is playing, it should actually record when we're pressing the pedal. But if it doesn't, or if it messes up, or you don't like it, or whatever, you can actually adjust it manually. So we can see that my mouse is a little pencil right now, and that means that we can actually draw on here, and we can tell it what we want our hold pedal to be. So we can tell if we want it on or off. Since hold pedal is it's a Boolean, right? Like it's only on or off. There's no in between. So it's basically like if it's above, I think it's something like 67 here, whatever the halfway point is. If it's above this, then it's going to be considered on. If it's below that point, it's going to be considered off. So if I draw something, roughly like this, that means it's just going to be off the whole time. And then if I just randomly, pull it up across here, then it's just going to be on the whole time. Okay, so let me just go back here, and then I can, I'll play it forward. Great. So we can hear we can hear the sustain because the note sustained even after we can see that the physical note ended. So that's good. So it's working properly. So I'm just going to zoom out again. So again, I'm just going to go back up here just to the bars, and then I'm using 2 fingers to just pinch this time, and I'm making it smaller. And I'm also going to make this smaller just by going down here and then pulling back up. Okay, so we've got our basic piano here. Let's try the same thing, but on a different track, and let's do it in a different instrument as well. So to initialize a track, first let's just turn this track off so we're not recording on this track anymore. So I'm going to click on track 2 over here, and I'm just clicking in the same spot that this Casio USB MIDI is. And here I can, again, just select the Casio. So that's going to be our input again. And you can see like that this track is very obviously kind of initialized now. So, the Casio that used to be here jumped over here. We still have to initialize the track, but the option for it pops up on track 2 now. So it's not really going to let you, unless you have multiple instruments that are hooked up, it's not going to let you record on 2 different ones at the same time. So I've initialized it so it's ready to record whenever we're ready. But first, I would like to set it to be some sort of instrument. So again, I'm just going to go over and add in the BBC Symphony Orchestra. So that's under Spitfire, and I'm going to select the one that works for my computer. And again, I'm just going to add a single plugin because I just want to add a single type of instrument. And then let's see, what would be fun? Why don't we do a nice violin too? Okay, so that's going to be our instrument of focus. So we can just exit out of this. What you can't tell just by looking at it is that this one is piano up here, and then this one is the violin too. But what we can do actually is if we just head over to track 2, we can just right click and then rename the track. And let's just call that what the instrument is so that we can remember. So this one's violin 2, and then this one is just the piano. Cool, so then that way we can just easily remember. Okay, and then I'll just select our the Casio keyboard here. So now it's initialized on our second track, and I'm just going to initialize recording, and I'll just play it right after our first piano recording up here. So I've selected this white bar. That's where it's going to start the recording, and I'll just get down here and get ready to play. So I can press this. Great, okay. So now we can see that we get basically the exact same thing as we got here. So you can see it's more or less identical between the two. And if we play this back, yeah, not bad. So just different instrument, same stuff. What you could even do is drag this down so that you can be like, hey, maybe I didn't want it on the piano track, I want it on the violin 2 track instead. Maybe you have different settings between each of the tracks and you're like, it just works better on this track. You can just pull them around wherever you want. So it's nice and versatile that way. You can also, maybe we can layer them on top of each other. This is where you might want to start using like the time signatures down here and like, these the time values to really sync up different parts if need be. So let's again just zoom in. So we can see that these aren't matched up that well. I can drag this top one here to make it match up pretty well.
But if you're trying to record something that you want to release on Spotify or something, then you might want to just adjust a couple of the notes to make sure it's really like on the correct time. So we can see here I've moved the white bar to just right as this C4 note starts here on the violin too, and we can see it's at 5, 4, 600. So maybe I would just want to drag these, and then I can kind of iteratively just test where each one of these starts and stops. We can see that my notes, like, they don't match up perfectly with each fraction of a beat here. We can see it's like kind of just, there's a little bit of the note that's stuck there. But we can actually just adjust these notes as well. We can make them as big or short as we want. So it's up to you. There's a lot of flexibility in how you want to adjust your notes, if you even want to in the first place. So let's say we're at the point where we're editing things and we want to, maybe listen to one and not the other. And so we're in kind of playback mode here. So the controls for each individual channel are over here. So we've got our mute. It'll just mute the piano one here. We've got our solo button here. So it'll just play this one here. We've got our just like raw, the output. So you can adjust the volume of a single channel at a time. One other important thing here is this little button here. So if you click this, this tells you where the output of this channel is going to go. So it'll always be recorded. Like, this isn't going to change here, but when you're actually playing it back so that you can listen to it while you're editing, you can set it to different options here. Generally speaking, you're probably going to want to be either playing it out loud on your computer or through your headphones. So if you're not hearing anything when you play it back, try clicking this button and try switching it. So for me personally, output channel 1 puts it into my headphones. So if you're not hearing anything with your default audio output, which is what it typically defaults to, or sometimes it defaults to MIDI output, just click this and then try a different one. Okay, so let's say that we're happy with our tiny little thing that we've done here. So our piano and our violin little melody. What we would want to do next is then export it so that we can listen to it as, a regular audio file. And to do that, all we need to do is go down here to the bottom left, and we'll click this 3 parallel bars here. So that typically means that there's some sort of setting menu in there. So if we click it, we get this this menu here. So we have our undo and redo options in case you don't want to use, Control Z and stuff like that. But what we want to do here to actually export it is we'll go to File, then we'll do Export Render to a File. Okay, and then we can change the format however we want. Let's do a WAV file. And then we can see too, so we saved the project originally in AR Metcalfe Music Piano. So now we saved that project as test project. So we're in the project right now. And so in there, it automatically makes this exported folder. And that's where it's going to save this export. So the idea is if you export multiple times on the same project, they're all going to be saved there in the same file so that you can easily go between them and save whichever ones you want to save and do whatever you want with the other ones. So let's just do that. So it's going to render. Should be pretty fast. Yeah, render complete already because this is obviously very small. Okay, so let's say that we want to find that file that we just exported. So you can do it just by going into your File Explorer. As I said, we know that this is being saved in AR Metcalfe Music and then Test Project folder. So I'm just going to search Test Project here. Great, and then we can see that the file folder comes up here. If I hover over it, we can see it's Users AR Metcalfe Music Piano Test Project. So I'm just going to click on that and it should open it up. So there we go. So we can see here we have our it's the waveform traction edit file. So this is, if you double click this after this video, then it'll pull this your project right back up. So it'll open it up. You don't even have to open waveform first. It should just open directly to your project. Now it told us that it was going to save everything and export it. So then if we go to exported here, we can see that we have our wave file that we just exported. And this thing can just be played directly as a music file. You can put it on your phone. You can do whatever you want with it. And there you go. So yeah, with that, I think that's enough to kind of get going on this. That's kind of all the basic tools that you need, and then the more you play with it, the more you'll find out that you can do. But that's definitely enough to kind of get you started, um, and get making some music.